Look, I've had a long track record of being negative, but I think it's time for me to be hopeful. And if you're looking at the main screen, there's plenty of reason for me to be hopeful. The past year, I've come to really learn a lot about why I opposed Obamacare, a policy that I always knew there was a lot wrong with it, but I never understood it to its root. And it's been a long journey and a long fight, and it might have to go longer, but hopefully a battle will be won tomorrow. And I think we're going to have to remain steadfast and remain realistic about what it means. Some people are going to be put out because of Obamacare. They're going to have some issues because of the end of Obamacare. A lot of people will see something negative come out of it, and we can't behave as if those people don't matter. I think that you do have to treat this healthcare debate as something where everybody has something at stake, because the fact of the matter is, everybody is possibly vulnerable to a car accident. Everybody's possibly vulnerable to a seizure, to heart disease, to cancer. So nobody should behave as if, this is never going to affect me or whatever. Even people that have health insurance or have good, they're financially well off enough that they don't have to worry about paying for their health insurance. We can't take it for granted that things are going to be okay. Things have to be optimized so that the most people can get the best value out of their health care. That's just the way it is. And Obamacare did not do that. In fact, it did the most to wreck the health care of people who already had good health care, or it did the most to ruin the market and make it an inhospitable business. It did very little to actually help people that required health insurance. And I didn't do this because I hated anybody. I didn't, I'm not even talking about me. Most of the people that oppose Obamacare, it's not because they hate anybody. You can't be racist for opposing a policy that doesn't make any sense and is full of failures. And all those people that are trying to make it seem like Obamacare is this noble and just policy have to really dig into the financials. Apparently yesterday, I didn't watch this video, and I'm not going to watch it. Not now, and possibly not for a while. Jimmy Kimmel made this video where he was appealing due to the fact that his kid had a pre-existing condition. I've heard the debate already. I've heard the argument. I've heard it all. The problem with pre-existing conditions and many other issues like what happened with Obamacare is that the higher risk you are, automatically that makes your insurance policy more of a liability for the insurance company than somebody who's lower of a risk. It's the way insurance works. If you are somebody that starts a car insurance policy and you do have a history of car accidents, your bill is going to be higher. Your premium is going to be higher. That's just the way it is. Even if you were not at fault. I mean, let's say you were living in an area of the country where there's frequent car accidents, or even I mean, let's take parts of the country where there's extreme weather. Or you've had like several cars that were vandalized or destroyed. I mean, your premiums are going to go up. That's the way it is, and it's not even your fault. And that's with a car. Now, the debate over whether it should be privatized health insurance or private health insurance, which is what I believe in, is a debate worth happening. I'm not going to do it today, obviously, because it's only me talking to myself and the few of you out there watching. But it's a debate worth having. What is not a debate worth having is whether to save Obamacare. Obamacare is a policy that progressives are finally admitting has been a total loss. It just is. And they never hold themselves to account. They never hold themselves accountable for basically being Obama's yes man for 8 years, even though they also knew that it was possibly much worse than either their nightmare scenario, which is private health insurance, or their own nightmare scenario, or my nightmare scenario, which is universal health care. I think that Obamacare is the key. It's the classic policy that was meant to fail. And you can see on the screen, it's the Hill. This is not some sort of Drudge Report or whatever. And this is not biased reporting according to the liberal media. This is the liberal media, and they know that on Thursday there is at least scheduled a vote where they're going to decide whether to repeal or replace Obamacare under a revised draft of the Affordable Health Care Act, or the American Health Care Act, as Paul Ryan called it, which I still think is not a great plan. And I think that his solution left a lot lacking. Okay, there were two, and to be fair, Paul Ryan pressed the field a lot harder against the Freedom Caucus a month and a half ago than he did against these centrist bitches, these neocon turds that have opposed the revised version now. And remember, I mean, we still allow states to continue to fund Obamacare if they choose to. And I'm afraid that at the end of the day, that we're going to lose that. We have to, if this passes, start to lobby GOP lawmakers to abandon Obamacare altogether, which is, this is still Obamacare light. It's frustrating to hear it, but it is. And the Republican Party, I'm very mad at. I'm tired of taking this bullshit from them, especially over this fake budget they just passed, where they're always talking about corporate welfare. The Republicans talk about corporate welfare, very rarely, and when they do, they're completely full of shit, because they're always voting for corporate welfare when it comes to defense spending and for pharmaceutical companies and all sorts of other pet industries that they love. And the Democrats, it's the same idea. They also vote for these defense spending bills and for Obamacare, which is, to me, just corporate welfare. It's just bullshit corporate welfare. I believe in corporations just, making their own way. Fuck this private-public partnership nonsense. And there are these two GOP representatives, Fred Upton of Michigan and Billy Long of Missouri. And they both opposed it yesterday. They were going nuts and claiming that they weren't going to vote for it. You can go fuck yourselves, and I don't care if you vote for it tomorrow under some sort of bullshit amendment that you're putting in. The people that I am working with, we're going to vote to have you primaried and sent the fuck home. We don't need Republicans to tell us what we believe. We are free people. We can believe in conservative economic policies. Okay, this has nothing. The party does not. I don't belong to a party. If I have friends, we're called a party of five, sitting at a table for five. That's the way it works. It has nothing to do with belonging to the Republican Party. I've never wanted to belong to a party in my life. It's all a bunch of useless bullshit. Okay. Anyway, so I did check out Fred Upton and his record in terms of accepting money from corporate lobbyists. His campaign committee accepted over $250,000 from health professionals and almost $250,000 from pharmaceutical industries and healthcare industries. Now, I don't know if all these people were doing this in order to keep Obamacare. I'm assuming some of them, like it says, health products and pharmaceuticals, you would think off the top of your head, why would they want to support somebody who keeps supporting these regulation backing assholes with Obamacare? Well, the reason is that large healthcare and medical device companies, they like having heavy regulation sometimes and maybe even heavy taxation in some cases, because then competitors aren't going to want to get into the market because they'll say, fuck it. It's not even worth it. It's not worth all the trouble. So you got these clowns, Fred Upton and the other guy, Billy Long. Let's look him up. So in his case, again, you see it's not as much money because he's in Missouri, maybe even in a safer seat. But he raised almost $100,000. The leading industry is pharmaceuticals and health products, and the third biggest industry is health professionals. And then there's leadership PACs, which those could also be funded by these health insurance and pharmaceutical lobbies. So let's dispense with this nonsense that the GOP really cares about giving us the repeal that we want. A lot of them just care about convincing us that they're opposed to Obamacare, even though they support all the principles that are in Obamacare. And therefore, they failed us and they failed the American people because they're embracing failed policies. And therefore, it's a failed party. And I'll tell you why I'm saying, that this bill is still better than letting it stay the way it is, okay? I do believe that the resulting liberal crap fest will definitely show that Obamacare is a bunch of bullshit. But it's already happened enough. I don't know if they'll ever realize it. You might not notice it, but today, if you're from outside Iowa, you probably didn't know that the last Obamacare insurer may be pulling out of most of Iowa, okay, and therefore, this state, which is, I'm admitting full disclosure. I mean, and everybody knows Iowa is not really representative of the country, but we see that it's turned into the black hole of Obamacare. Aetna, Wellmark, Blue Cross, and Blue Shield, they've all left. Okay, you can see it right here. I'm highlighting it in case you're an idiot and you can't read. There will only be, it says, if Medica leaves, Medica is this company, it's probably one of the smaller companies involved in the exchange. It says if Medica leaves, all but 5 counties in the state would have no insurers to choose from on the exchanges. Medica's announcement comes as insurers continue to get mixed signals from the Trump administration. Insurers are anxious about whether the Trump administration will continue with key Obamacare insurance payments, which reimburse them for giving discounted deductibles and copays to low-income individuals. The White House said Tuesday it has not decided whether it will continue the cost-sharing reduction payments after May. Insurers are also nervous about what will happen with the GOP's plan to repeal and replace Obamacare. Forget that. This is irrelevant. What they're really saying is they're trying to make it sound like Trump is sabotaging Obamacare. There's no sabotage here. Obamacare is being funded. And I don't want to, I'm beating a dead horse. I don't care how many times it takes for me to say this and for you to understand it. The thing that's keeping Obamacare even treading water while it's drowning is illegal appropriations through what's called CRS. Okay, it's CSR, maybe it's cost sharing reduction. It's an illegal procedure that President Obama was doing, where he would basically just take money from Congress without getting it appropriated, and from the Treasury, without having Congress approve it, and he would fund Obamacare despite the fact that this was not approved for the budget. In fact, it's basically illegal. No other branch but the legislative branch can decide how much money is being spent for a given program of any type by the government, okay? By the federal government is what I mean. So basically, they're claiming that by Trump ending this, insane policy of stealing money in order to fund Obamacare, they think that means he's sabotaging Obamacare. That's totally false. First of all, even with those payments going on, these insurers have been leaving the exchanges. It's completely unrelated to anything Trump did since he took office. They were fleeing last year. A lot of them were claiming that they wouldn't keep going, or they removed plans from certain areas of the country. And gradually, it's like that game I've heard of before, where you put a napkin over a glass and tie it over it, and then you take turns with cigarettes, seeing how many people could poke holes in it without it falling through. That's what I analogize it for. Every month, you're going to see more and more Obamacare health plans abandoned and more basically dead zones popping up across the country. And if Trump really wanted to stick the knife, he would put off all of this until September. If he was really, if he really wanted to screw the Democrats, he would wait until September. Because regardless of whether, whatever happens with Obamacare tomorrow, what is going to happen is more and more insurers are going to leave. They've already been leaving. So you don't need Donald Trump to prove that the model is insolvent. They're in all over the 50 states. There is this mass of rural areas where there's only one Obamacare plan. And very likely in 2018, there's going to be no available Obamacare plans in states like Georgia, most of Georgia. So I'm not talking about the entire states, but there's in most of Georgia, there's not likely to be any Obamacare plan at all. In parts of Oklahoma and already in parts of Tennessee, it's virtually guaranteed that there will be no Obamacare plans offered. So let's dispense with this nonsense, okay? I'm hoping for tomorrow something great to happen. The end of Obamacare as we know it. Eventually, I hope the GOP is so intimidated in 2018 into renouncing Obamacare and we get real conservative spending people, people that don't try to fund every friggin' war for the benefit of Northrop Grumman and all those defense contractors. If we get more and more people like that in there, then we're just going to charge into the GOP and destroy its hoity-toity nonsense attitude. We're going to bring this party to the modern age of the entrepreneur and the innovator. And that's it for Ramon with Bold Like a Leopard. And tomorrow there might be an appeal of Obamacare. So stay tuned, guys.